Hi, it's Fleur here from Little Desert Quilts. Today I'm going to show you how to turn the apron panel. So here it is here. It comes as an apron panel. It's got pockets and straps and instructions. And I'm going to show you how to turn this apron panel into an apron. Now the first thing I'm going to do before I even start is lay it down and grab my phone and take a photo of the instructions. Now why would I do that? Well, you never know. I might lose those instructions. If I don't get it all done in one day, let's make sure I can read that photo. Just check. Yep, there we go. I've got that on my phone now. I've got it in my photo. So if I happen to lose the instructions off the panel, because maybe I cut this out and I don't get back to it for another day or another week or another month, and in the meantime, I've got all my pieces, but the instructions have gone missing and I'm thinking, how the heck do I do this? That's why I take a photo on my phone first. So we need to cut out all the bits. I'm just going to shift the camera so that you can watch me cut out a few of these. Okay, we're going to start with the straps. And instead of using scissors, the panel says use scissors, but you know what? It's going to be a whole lot quicker if I use my rotary cutter. So I'm just going to cut the end off there for a start and turn my panel and cut down the strips. Now it does say to cut on the very edge. Now this is designed as a children's apron, so I'm going to cut on the very edge of the print. Now if I wanted to make this apron a little bit bigger for an older child, I would cut about 1/4 inch away from the edge of the print and use some of that white background to make everything a tiny bit bigger. So I'm just simply using my cutter down the edge of the strip. Now you don't need to watch me cut out all of this, but I am just going to, so I'm just moving my ruler along. I only move one hand at a time, so when the hand that's holding the cutter is moving, the ruler hand is still. Now with those pockets, I'm just going to quickly show you those. The pockets there's 2 pockets and there's 2 linings. It has a straight edge across the top, so I can use my ruler on that. Now a great tip is always put what you want to keep, so therefore the pocket, underneath the ruler. So then if you do happen to slip, you're going to slip into waste area, not into the good area. Now, there you go. There's the top of my pocket. Now I can cut down some of this side is straight and then it starts to curve. So I'm just going to cut the straight bits. And again, turning my panel so that I've always got the pocket, the bit I want to keep, underneath. Now I would probably cut the curve with the scissors. So I'm going to cut straight down to there, and if I cut the other side of this strap, then I will have cut my pocket off the panel. Just need to cut down there. Oops. You can see I've cut straight across the top with the ruler, straight down both sides with the ruler, and then that curve, I'm going to cut that with the scissors. You could try and cut it with your rotary cutter if you want to. Probably not going to get a very smooth curve. I may cut into the pocket accidentally, so I think it's going to be safer to cut that with scissors. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to cut the rest of this out and then come back and show you what happens next. So I've cut out all the pieces, but I did want to show you this one, and this is what I was talking about, how I have wavered away from the actual printed part of the pocket lining. I had my ruler down there on the edge. Because I was cutting, really quickly, I accidentally cut away from that edge, and that's why I emphasize that you always put the ruler on top of the piece that you want to keep. Had I put my ruler on this edge and accidentally cut away, I would have been cutting into the piece that I really wanted to keep. So I'm just going to tidy that up now with you watching. And the other thing that I did discover was I actually cut all these pieces with the rotary cutter. I found that if I went nice and slow, and I actually needed to stand up to do it, positioned my piece so that I could get all the way around and made sure my hand was not in front of my cutter, and if I went slow enough and moved my body as I turned, I could get around that nice and smoothly. Now I did the other pockets like this, and I thought I would just show you that one. So I practiced on the pocket. So there's 2 pocket linings, and 2 pockets. And then I also did that same technique on the curve of the apron. Very slowly, very carefully, and made sure that I was controlling my cutter and had my hand, very conscious of where my hand was, and that I wasn't going to cut myself or damage my panel. Now, the other thing that you could try, go ahead and cut with scissors. It is certainly the safer option. The other thing that you could try is actually using your ruler and turn your ruler and just cut a little bit of the circle, the curve at a time, just by turning your ruler slowly around as you go. But like I said, cut it with scissors. The panel says cut with scissors, but it's quicker and certainly easier for me to cut with a rotary cutter. Just make sure that you're holding your cutter with your finger on this part that's the steering wheel. Then you'll have more control. If you're holding your cutter like this, you're not going to have as much control. It's like driving your car with your hands in your lap. Eventually you'll run off the road. This way, like this, and you have control of your cutter. All right, getting back to the instructions. So I've got my instructions here. Remember, I took a photo of that too in case I lose them. Now I'm going to fold under the edges of the actual apron. So I'm just going to put my pocket pieces and there's the straps. I'm just putting them out the way. And we're going to turn this under. Now I am going to move my cutting mat. I think I'll set this up and then come back and show you what I'm going to do. Okay, so help me turn my edges under. I'm using a hot hammer. So this is the hot hammer long. It's also available in a shorter version that's more square. So this is a device that you can use on your fabric, and it'll give you a nice crisp edge and it'll give you a nice turn. Now I've turned the top. I've actually turned everything over twice. So on the curve, I've just turned over and pressed as I've gone along. And then, so this one is done once. And then I'm just going to turn it over again. And turning it twice, what that does is means that there is no raw edges showing. It tucks in all the raw edges. Now, because this curve is going to be a bias cut, it does curve quite nicely. The trickiest part is going to be at the top there, where you have turned the top edge, and just hold the iron on it, give it a little bit of steam, and press it down nicely. Now the side, I'm going to turn it once with I'm going to use the hot hammer. So just place the hot hammer in there, turning it over, giving it a press. Just give it a bit of steam. Get your fingers out of the way so you don't steam your fingers. Move that hot hammer tool along and just fold that edge over. So I'm turning over about 1/4 inch. Just give it a bit of steam. So this hot hammer is designed to use with an iron. It's designed, to give you that nice crisp turnover edge. And it does get warm. Get your fingers out of the way. There are tools and stuff that you can use, but look, I find that my fingers work best, so I just keep them out of the way. So that's turned over once, and I'm going to, actually I might start at the top end because that's the one I really want to concentrate on. That's where it needs to be nice and neat. So I just pull my hot hammer back a bit further, and back a bit further, and turn it over again. Come on, turn over. There we go. Oops, a bit too far at that end. Turn that over again and get the iron in there and press it. Get my fingers out of the way. Just press it down nice and neat. Now you could pin this, but I think I would probably go for a glue option just to hold it down. So there's the glue, Roxanne glue based it in a couple of different configurations. So this is the little, has the little nozzle on it. This one has a broad and a wide nozzle, or there's also your glue pen. So any one of those products will probably hold it. Just a few dobs of that along there would hold it in place. That's if you have trouble with it. You can certainly stitch this without pinning it, because that's why we're pressing. That's why we're taking the time to press and get it nice and neat. Just got to move my hot hammer along that little bit further and turn that edge over. Now, at the moment, I've left my selvages on the bottom of the apron. It's just giving me a few more options for my length. So I didn't cut at the very bottom of the printed, where the printed image is. I actually left the selvage on the bottom, just so you can see that. So that can give me, I will probably turn it up to there, turn it over twice to give it a little bit of weight in the bottom edge. So what we need to do now is stitch this down. Like I said, you can put a few glue blobs on there if you want to. I'm probably just going to put pins in the corners just to hold them down. Now you could top stitch this with a twin needle if you wanted to and get 2 rows of stitching in one go, or you can do a single row of stitching, or you can do a double row of stitching. So there's lots of options there. I'm just going to do a single row of stitching today, and then I'll come back and show you what that looks like. Now, just before I sew, I realised I needed to clip out these corners. So where I folded and folded on both of those, I'm just going to clip out those corners to get rid of that bulk, so that when I press them over, there is less, that's got to go over one more time, there is less bulk happening. Just even take a little bit more of that out. So when I press them over, there is less bulk in there, and that means that those corners will be easier to sew and look better. And that one I've done. So yeah, I'm going to clip my corners and then stitch it. Okay, this is what I suggest for your pockets. Before you put them right sides together and sew them, put your hot hammer on, or your piece of card, and turn the edges so the right side is down, the wrong side is up. Turn your top, just the top edge back. Probably, I might do a little bit wider than that. Just turn the edges back on the, this is the front of the pocket, and I've also already done it to the lining, turned it back. Give it a good press so that it stays back like that. I'll just make that one a little bit wider as well. So this will give you a way of closing your pockets without having to do any hand stitching. Okay, so turn them back with your hot hammer and then put them together, right sides together, but open those flaps up. Okay, open them up, put a few pins in. What do I do with my pins? Put a few pins in, and then you're going to stitch around the pocket and hold the two together. So I'm just going to start here and go all the way around, and I'm going to leave the top totally open. I'm not going to leave a little 5 centimetre gap to turn through, which is what the pattern says, because I think you'll find this an easier way. So just pin them together and stitch it. I'll stitch that and be back and show you what's next. So once you've stitched it, clip it around the curve. Just take out some little V's. Make sure you don't cut into the stitching. So just around the bottom of the curve, just take out a few little V's. I'm going to go ahead and do that and then show you what it looks like. Okay, so I've done my little clipping around the bottom. There isn't a set number. There isn't, set far apart. It's just whatever you think is going to make that curve fold through. The other thing I'm going to do is trim the tops. Again, don't cut through the stitching. I'm just trimming that top. And then I'm going to turn this through. And I like to use my curved awl to get my hand in there with my finger on there and just run around the inside of that seam. It just helps to push that seam out so that it's all nice and smooth and rounded. Just work your way around gently. You don't want to poke a hole through your pocket. So this is the outside of the pocket and the lining as well. So it's a lined pocket that we're going to put on the apron, just making sure that that is all the way to the seam. Now, where we used the hot hammer before and turned this under, we're now turning that back under, and because we have it's like a memory on the fabric of where that seam was, it should go back under. Just might need a few. Right, so I'm going to just hold that there with my fingers, grab my iron and press that back in place. So I've got nice and smooth around the curves, and that way I've got bits hanging on the iron here. Nice rounded pocket, and then you go ahead and stitch around that all the way around the edge. So I've done that on the other one. You can see I've top stitched, oops, there's a thread, top stitched across the top, which has stitched that close and stitched all the way around. So you top stitch that. Now the next thing is the straps. Now it says to fold the straps in half from end to end. So do that and find the centre. Now I'm going to show you a really easy way to turn these straps through once you have stitched them. So I find the centre. There is a bit of a crease there anyway. Now I've got some ribbon. This is what was hanging on the iron. Now I'm just going to put that ribbon on my, let's pin it down here again. And I've got a little bit of ribbon sticking off the end of my strap. I'm going to pin that ribbon in place. I'm making sure the pin is not anywhere near that little bit that's coming out the top. So right in the middle of the piece. Turn it over. So this is not on the instructions, but I find this is a quick and easy way to turn this through once we've stitched. And now I'm going to stitch down that side that's got the tiny bit of ribbon hanging out. All of this is hanging out this end. We don't want to get that in the way, so I'm going to stitch down there. Now I've got one already done to show you what happens next. So the pin is still in here holding the ribbon in place, and I have stitched down that one side. Now open, oops, you can't really open it up because it's half stitched. Open it and take your pin out. So that's very important. Take the pin out and then put that ribbon inside. Oops, I've got plenty of ribbon here. It could be ribbon, it could be cord, it could be a shoelace, whatever you want to use. Now, see how the ribbon is still sticking out here and I've stitched through it. So it's stitched to the strip, and I just put that ribbon inside all the way down here, and then I'm going to stitch down the other side, making sure that I don't stitch on the ribbon. So I'll go ahead and stitch that, and then I'll show you how I turn it through. So here we are back from the machine. Now I'm just going to trim off my stitched ends. Now the other thing that I forgot to tell you was you need to go back and forwards at this end a couple of times just to make sure that you've got that held well. Now we're going to trim these corners. Again, don't cut through your stitching, so I like to stick my thumbnail on the stitching so that I don't cut through it, and we're just going to clip a little bit off that corner and the other side, and clipping this one you're actually going to cut that ribbon as well. Okay, then the side that's got the ribbon on it, I just sort of start working my thumb, there we go, working my thumb into that, and then I am pushing the strip up on my thumb. So my thumb, the end of my thumb, the nail on my thumb is on the ribbon on the inside, and just push all that strip up onto your thumb. Okay, grab your ribbon and start gently pulling. There you go, it's coming. And now it is turned through, just like that. And that even pulls that corner out nicely. Now the other corner, you're going to have to work that one out. Get my thumbnail in there, grab my curved awl, which will help me get that corner out as well. Again, just be gentle. You don't want to put a hole through that. Just work that. There we go. Once you've got that pulled through, you can simply cut that ribbon off as close as you can to the edge. You don't need that there. There's a tiny bit of ribbon in there, about the width of your fingernail basically. And so every time you do that, you literally snip off a tiny bit of ribbon. So I've got this huge long piece of ribbon, and I'm using both ends of it to do both the straps. So then you just need to roll this a little bit, and you want to roll out that seam, and I just find if you work on one seam at a time, and I'm going to start with the one that's got the ribbon on it because that was pulled out nicely, and you just sort of manipulate those seams between your fingers, and you want them to get to sit nice and flat. Grab your iron, press that little bit, and work your way down the strip, just pressing that nice and flat. So that's the process. And I just do one half of the strip at a time. I'm not pressing this other seam yet. I'm just doing one half at a time. Just working my way down the strip and getting them to sit flat. But that's a really simple, easy way to pull your strips through just by stitching in a cord, a string, a rope, a shoelace, something. Now I'm going to work on the other side. A really good trick. Don't need any special tools. If you've got special tools, you can certainly use those as well. But just a quick and easy strip turning trick to stitch that little bit of ribbon or something in there and turn that through. Alright, so once I've got my pockets and my straps done, so you need to do this to all the straps. And I've got one of the pink ones done, one of the green one half done, and the other pink one to do. And I've got one of my pockets top stitched and one of them not yet, so that one's got to be top stitched. But then once you've done all that, you can then position them back onto your apron. So the apron has been, we've top stitched all the way around the apron. So the pockets will go on here. You just need to line them up. So this one, just line it up over the top of where that goes. This is the one that's not top stitched. It fits about there. It should line up with what's underneath. Pin it in place and then stitch around. Don't stitch across the top because that we need to be able to get your hand into there. Stitch around and do a little extra stitching on the corners. This one will go about where. Just line it up visually. Hang on, there's no claws on there. About there. Stitch around the curve and do a little bit of a stay stitch on here. The straps, now you could mix these up and do a pink one and a green one. You could put the pink ones on, on the left and the green ones on the right, or you can put both the green ones at the waist and both the pink ones at the neck. And you put these on by, so you've got your neat edge, the one that had the ribbon in it, and then you've got your raw edge. Now I'd left the selvages on, so this goes on the back like this. You stitch it, and then you fold it back, and you stitch it again, and that covers up any raw edges. So that's how you put your straps on. That's how you put your pockets on. The instructions are on the panel. There's also an option for doing a lining, but I didn't go there. didn't line my apron, but there is instructions for doing a lining as well. So I have these panels available at Little Desert Quilts. So they come as a panel with the instructions, and that's upside down. Yep. And I also have a coordinate panel that has these guys on it as well. So if you didn't want to turn your panel into an apron, you might want to use it as the centre of a quilt or something else. This is a companion panel that goes with that. I'll put a link up here on the classroom now and show you where to go to find those on the Little Desert Quilts page. Thanks for joining me. Any questions, just ask. Bye for now.